morning there. You're watching QTV this morning, and I am Jennifer Sonko, joined by my amazing co-host here, Ibrahima Balde. Tey nak da nga xaw a nduru ku tayal bul tayal. Tey mooy last day nañ muñ.
Tey suma yaram bi dafa tayu.
Tey sa yaram bi dafa tayu.
Dafa tayu.
Anga fan yi duy taw suba.
Waaw. Exactly. Ba pare xam nga rush hour bi. Nawet dafa different ak maanaam noor. It's totally different. Atmosphere bi is different. Moo tax da nga gis nit ñi di feebar yu sew yi si nawet bi. Because dafa mel ni climate bi change na. Ba pare comme yuñ ji ni mbooxay mu ngi jóg xam nga gerte yi ñu ngi ko soog a ji. So all those things couple ba pare dafa tax sa yaram bi tayal ba pare feebar yi gën a bëri.
Yeah, but you know, hanga determination bi rek ak yooyu noonu. Moo de tax nit ñi di eew. Sometimes nga eew nga ne lii sa mbaa jar na ko. You know, it's the struggle. Sometimes you question yourself nga lette sa boppa because of things that you go through while you're doing the job and you know just on a daily basis. You know, sometimes you wake up in the morning and let me just give up and not just do anything. It's just too much. But then later you remind yourself that you have a purpose in life. You know, you have to wake up every morning and, you know, go and do what you have to do despite all the challenges that you get to face.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't have to remain at home or be sleeping while people are sitting out there deciding about, you know, your life. I mean, how to govern you. I mean, you have to be part of the process. It's important for you to get up, go get your thing. I mean, even bu nekkee na nga génn si suba doo am lu bëri sax waaye at least fulfill nga benn challenge at least boobu
man su ma gisee persons with disability ñi nga xam ne comme xëj na yàlla mu talut seen cër yi daal ñooñu ñuy mën a jóg suba di dem di daan seen doole decide pour saraxtu wala taxawaalu su ma gisee ñooñu at least man dama dende no matter what I'm going through no matter yow loo nga go through comme loolu war nga koo brush aside nga jóg liggéey nga def loo war a def comme you don't need to give up because am na ñoo xam ne ñu ngi go through way worse ñoo la gën a soona you know gën laa ñaaka ñu ngi jóg di try so there's no reason for us to just give up you know let's just wake up every morning and go for the gold.
That reminds me of a particular scenario. Dama musa ñëw si maa ngi génn kër ñëw taxaw si tali bi you know ma xool ma gis koo xam ne wax dëgg yàlla jëna ma bés boobu sant naa yàlla bu baax this guy was struggling to cross the highway it was very difficult for him you know ma xalaat ma ne kii and with all this he's doing that with a smile mu ngi smile di jaala tali bi you know mu ngi kontaan you know at some point ma ne man suma cër yëpp ñu ngi mut di nga gis doomi aadama bi sax at some point da ngaa gis ne da ngaa toog rek di naag aw ma lii man ma soona man ma lii soona nag sa wood la
soona waaye su ma ne dama soona waa xam nga luy issue bi su ma waxee ne dama soona da dang dee jël sa time nga ñëw laaj ma jeena ba what are you going through
façon soona nga dee
xam nga loolu tamit dama ko fi dee wa nit ki
soona yi
soo gisee nit is the best thing you can do is to say hey
jeena ba xam nga soona itam dañ utee dafa am soona yoo xam ne soona liggéey bi ak soona dundin waaw waaye gis nga tam comme loo wa make no sense
dama soona boobu noonu xëy na there's something I'm going through that you don't know
it's important for people jeena ba dama gis dara si suñ society bi tey it's important sometimes da ngaa gis ne dama ñu mën a jeena ba I need a hug
man I do that to my friends sometimes
you need someone to at least sometimes ki nga xam ne
emotional support
daf laa jàppal waaye loolu is lacking in our society tey gis nga da ngaa gis ne nit is going through a lot waaye ba léegi da ngaa gis people point fingers at him or her
instead of looking for ways to support the individual
instead of support nit ku nekk you have something that you are dealing with man if I tell you things that I am dealing with
trust me you don't want to know what
sometimes suma demee ba dee bi jee ma tëdda suma lal bi di nelaw ma tëdda balaa maa nelaw dama ne really so tey dee bi passé na without any issue without any incident waaw so loolu moo tax nit ku nekk soo tasee moom trial nga treat ko comme noo buggee ñu treat la understand
because at the end of the day situations change you can be in the person's situation later and then you get to deal with it as well
absolutely
so all of those things dafa important daal ñu bàyyi xel suñ diggante ak nit lu am solo la diggante nit ak nit moo foofu la problème
waaw it's very important yàlla sax mu ne bési yowmal kii lu tax ngeen a delay si line bi lu tax ngeen a delay mooy seen diggante
nit ak nit
waaw waaye comme yéen yoo ak yàlla rek am na yooyu def sa yàlla mu jégal waaye comme man ak jéena ba luñ defante te yàlla moom mu ne moom waaw mu ne moom amut comme laaxa dama taxaw ma woon jéena ba ne man maa la defoon lii maa la tooñ nii bugga naa nga baalal ma soo ma baalalee fine soo ma baalalut amin yàlla moom dafa jub
jeex na soo nañ bàyyi xel ñu defante ndanka
exactly
su ko defee comme noo ko waxee rek treat somebody yow ni nga soo nekkee su situation am moom naka nga bugg a comme yow ñu treat la on
waaw ba pare at some point tam dama bugg a ñu address certain things in our society Jeena ba xam naa ne time is against us and we have a lot to do waaye comme sometimes am na ñu dee comme portrayal na ñoom ñoo gën a religious understand nga a particular person understand waaye I'll tell you sometimes pour nga nekk nit ku am diine nekkut ne si sa ay colin oo nekkut ne si sa ay wonewu understand nga there are people ñi nga xam ne nekkuñ di wonewu waaye you never know lu gaay di def da ngaa gis at some point ni dafa mun a point ni sax mu woon la ne ñii ay niti safara lañ xam nga so all those things nañ ko mun because you cannot judge
am na fi
waaw you cannot judge
so comme maanaam li ñoo jéem a explain mooy as an individual show the real you saa yu nekk rek wanal sa boppa wanal yow yaay kan there's no need pour nga hide under something else wanal yow yaay kan it's left to people du by force ku ko bëgg a accept ko ku ko bëggut du ko accept so that is how it is
it's even to be pretending to be something that you are not. I mean, dafa métti
so fi mu nekk nii suñu African proverb lan la tey.
waaw moom mu ne a hunter with one arrow does not shoot with careless aims.
Okay, a hunter with one arrow does not shoot with careless aims.
Yes.
Maanaam so amee limited resources.
Wow.
If you have limited resources, you have to make sure to use those limited resources wisely. Just yesterday, that's what I was talking about, the issue of how in Gambia here, we have meager resources there, and then we have different individuals coming to form organizations fighting for the same thing. So why can't those individuals who have the same vision join someone else to collaboratively do something rather than starting your own thing? Because resources young in now, so let's just look for a way to aim in a very careful way, put it together and achieve whatever that we need to achieve. I think loolu war nañ ko
gis nga man most of the organizations fii soo gisee du ma dee impress bu baax pour I mean sometimes inviting some of them on this platform or sometimes pour contribute or suñ la invité pour nga dem nga attend duplication of efforts moo dee nekka lañ dee def all the time da ngaa gis ne benn organisation mooy fight disaster da ngaa gis keneen tam taxaw mu ne loolu la moo fight da ngaa gis ku la ne man road accident lay fight lay try pour ma end ko ba pare another organisation is doing that so da ngaa gis ne why not comme noo ko waxee resource buñ am I mean we just put it together mu nekk benn di nga gis ñu mun a waaye we have a whole lot of institutions yi nga xam ne ñu ngi def the same thing ba pare at the end of the time soo demee pour ñu jàppale la I mean you start putting blames on maybe government officials or any other person that ñi jàppale wuñ ma I want to do this and that because they enough nekku fa you're not able to manage yourself well so I think I mean the proverb it's a good one Jay.
Yeah, a hunter with one arrow does not shoot with with careless aims. You know, when the resources are limited or when you know your chances are limited, make sure to do what you have to do wisely, you know, and you know have a specific aim to it. So we'll just go for a short break, Ibrahima, and when we come back, today we will not be starting with the newspaper review. We'll be starting with our community watch, and we will be joined by the president of the Gambia Volleyball Federation. We'll be right back.
Espas Motors is the largest and most modern auto service in the Gambia. Espas Motors is the only authorized dealer in Sherry, Mercedes-Benz trucks, Mercedes-Benz buses, Kia, Ford, Futon Mini and Midi buses, Futon trucks. At Espas Motors, we have qualified professionals who use modern technology to diagnose and repair all brands of motor vehicles. Espas Motor services include auto sales, auto repairs, vehicle painting, availability of high-quality spare parts, towing services. We are reachable at any time. Call Espace Motors on 352222 353-4444 or locate us on the Bertil Harding Highway. Espace Motors.
Welcome back from that short break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning and heading right on to the Community Watch. We are joined by Dudu Jallow, President Gambia Volleyball Federation. Thank you so much, Mr. Jallow, for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Jallow, can you just update us on what the Volleyball Federation has been up to lately?
Yeah, thank you very much. In the next few days, the national volleyball team for the under-21 category for the main area will be participating in the African Nations Championship. This is the highest level in the continent for this category. The tournament will be held in Tunisia, starting from the 14th to the 23rd of August, 2022. The Gambia's main team will be participating in this category for the first time, and this is in the indoor side of volleyball, not the beach side, which we have been very much famous for.
Yeah.
But we are continuing also to build our gains on the indoor side. So we will be participating in this competition. It's a huge competition for this category. It's the highest level in the continent, and with the competition will also serve as the qualification for the World Championship, which will be held early next year, in 2023.
So we are aware that there's something extraordinary that happened, as in the fact that they've gotten the required support that they need. Is that so? Yes,
absolutely. I think this time we really have to, give a big clap to the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and by extension to the Honorable Minister Bakari Baji. I mean, this time the ministry supported 100% this activity or this trip. They have provided all the air tickets, and they have also provided finances for all the logistics that the team would require. So it's a 100% government-funded program. And I can tell you, this is for the indoor. This is the first time volleyball is benefiting from this kind of support. So for us, it's a huge motivation. It also shows that government is recognizing other sports, not only football. It's something that we've been talking about, but at least we have seen a very big step from government this time in supporting our team to participate at this level.
Exactly, interesting. Mr. Jallow, I understand, I mean, in Tunisia it will be a bigger tournament. What is the preparation like in the Gambia? How prepared are you to go face your opponents in Tunisia?
Yeah, very tough tournament, because the teams that have registered for this competition are the biggest volleyballing teams in Africa. You know, we have the Egypt, the Tunisia, Morocco, and Nigeria, Cameroon. All these big countries are there, and Gambia will have to fight with them. But we are very hopeful. We think we have been preparing very well, because our national league have been running throughout this year. But also this team for the last 2-3 weeks have been training at the Independence Stadium both morning and afternoon, and they have prepared very well. And the cream of this team was also the team that participated last year in the under-19 category for Africa, and they won the bronze medal. And this is the cream of players that we have just molded to move on to this next category. And you know, last year in the under-19, they defeated big countries like Morocco and so on to get to the bronze medal. So we are very hopeful that these boys can really go and also perform very well in this competition.
Considering infrastructure, I mean, in the Gambia, when it comes to such kind of sports, I understand, you said, I mean, the government and the Ministry of Health are doing to help your people. So infrastructure, do we have enough, I mean, to at least train our boys well for future competitions?
It's a challenge. The infrastructure continue to be a challenge, especially for indoor volleyball, because we don't have an indoor court in the Gambia. And normally this kind of competition requires that you prepare in an indoor court, because the boys are going to play in an indoor facility, a very good one for that matter. But notwithstanding, I think the game have been growing in this country tremendously, and most of these boys have played in various competitions in indoor facilities. We are now playing, we are having this Senegambia Club Championship with Senegal every year, and sometimes it's hosted in the Gambia, sometimes in Senegal. And when we go to Senegal, these boys play in this kind of facility. Last year, when they won the bronze medal, they played in an indoor facility. And, we now have also a floor that really is only the roof that you don't have, but when it comes to the flooring surface, we now have the floor in the Gambia that we put down for them to play on. So I think facility-wise, of course, we are challenged, but we are thinking with what we have gone through in building up these boys from the grassroots to this level now, and the kind of competition that they have gone through, both in and outside of the country, the boys will be able to perform. I'm sure with respect to the continuous development of the game, there is no way we need this facility to be in the country for us to continue to grow. But I think looking at this tournament, I am really very optimistic. With all the challenges that we have faced, we will be able to perform. Yeah.
But,
yes,
so another thing I'm concerned about is the issue of these players' upkeep.
Okay.
The reason why I'm not saying when they travel to Tunisia, but I'm talking about when they're in Gambia.
Yeah.
Do they have any form of stipend scheme where, they get money
to motivate them?
Because they're playing for the national team. Some of them, that's all they do.
Yeah.
And then when money is not coming from there to put food on the table, whatever sports you do, whatever you're a journalist, whatever you are, it's about, no matter what you're doing it to get money to feed your family or, live a good life. So is there any scheme as such under the Volleyball Federation?
Actually, not necessarily a scheme of payment in terms of motivating them through finance. I think with respect to the national team, of course, when they call up on national duty, there is an allowance provided to them when they travel for national duties. But no player will depend only on national duty for your income and so on, because you don't even know whether you will be called up for national duty.
True.
But generally what we have is that we have institutional clubs in the country, and a lot of these players are in these clubs set up where they have a regular income coming in every month.
Okay.
Some of them are playing for the army team, some of them for the police team, some of them for the prisons team, for Gamtel, and these institutions provide some source of income for them.
Okay.
So some of them have these facilities, not all the clubs. There are clubs that are community clubs we do not have. But this is the situation. But I think with respect, these players also see this as an opportunity, because as a player, you don't want to spend all your career only focusing on national duty. You want to have opportunities where you play and you'll be seen, and probably you can be taken up by bigger clubs that will pay you, become a professional and pay you.
Yeah.
That is where you can really make money.
Yeah, but don't you think we should, develop to that stage where we look after our players?
Yeah, I think so. But you have to look at our club structures in the country.
Okay.
It is normally the responsibility of clubs, because players belongs to clubs, and they play for the clubs throughout the year.
Okay.
They are called up for national duty once in a while.
Okay.
Okay, so the government, or we can say the national federation, cannot be the one paying all the players.
Not all, but don't you have like a specific number? Because I'm not a sports, I'm learning here. Don't you have like a specific team to say this is the national team? That's what I want. That's what I'm asking.
No, you don't have a permanent national team. Selections come and go.
Okay.
And when you are selecting, you look at those who are performing, you give them the opportunity. And when they are giving the opportunity, they don't stay there permanently.
Okay.
They are there for that tournament. In the next tournament, you expect others to break in and some to drop.
So what about...
Okay, so it's different from football.
Yeah.
So it's different. With football, I can tell you, it's more or less the same thing. You don't have a permanent national team. Every tournament, the coach will select and publish his list of players.
But at least we know that this person is part of the national team.
Well,
isn't it?
I think that's the reason why.
Volleyball is also the same.
That's what I'm driving at.
No, what I'm just telling you is that we don't have, like, per se, a crop of players who are permanent in the national team.
Okay.
Then, Mr. Jallow, this would be very difficult. To recognize your players.
Yeah.
When you look at people like Modou Barrow, they play for Gambia. When you look at people like the guy
Barrow
Steve,
also.
they play for Gambia. Wow. So it's difficult. I think that's why volleyball is kind of confusing to me. I mean, because I mean, I've not been following, and I have not been seeing like a person that is playing for the national team. Although volleyball, it's a very big game worldwide. People recognize it. I mean, people like my boss here, they drama, they love it. But for me, at some point, it is very difficult for me to understand even the pointings when it comes to volleyball. How do you do your scoring? How do you score? How do you...
Well, let me just elaborate what I'm trying to say. Of course, if you give the example of football, the Musa Barros, you know, you have players that obviously comes to mind at certain period of time because they are doing very, very well. So it's difficult to have a selection and not put in. It's the same thing for volleyball. Right now, you know, there are certain faces, you know, they really make it to the national team. But I am just saying this because I just want to emphasize the fact that nobody is permanently there. I mean, you are there because of your performance. And at some point, the coach can decide to drop you, or the coach can decide to make you stay. So this is why I was just making the emphasis that the scheme of motivating these players is through the clubs. And this is why you give them, when they have opportunities in national teams, they have more exposure, and they have more opportunities for clubs even outside of this country to take them. And they play there, and they have a very steady income, and not basing it on the national team.
Because what I was thinking, I mean, if at all a player plays for the national team, and maybe next season you did not choose him to play, and he's gone back home, you know, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for him. What happens to that player? I mean,
that is why I think then they have to keep up with good performance.
That is the challenge in sports. You have to be performing.
Yeah, you have to continue.
You cannot be there when you are not performing.
Yes.
So you have to maintain your performance through your training and your hard work.
So when you maintain your performance, you can be maintained in the team. Every
yes,
time.
automatically.
You
and
have
you
a
get
big
all
chance,
the benefits.
and you will get the benefits. Now, if I tell you those who were in the under 19 team, not everybody is in this under 21 team. You have players who were not there, but now they have breaking into this.
So let's go back to the competition in Tunisia, as we have very limited time. So how prepared is the team?
Yeah, once again, I really, at my own level, I can tell you for sure that the team is well prepared and well motivated to perform. Competitions have a lot of permutations, and it's very difficult to say this or that. But what really, I am very optimistic, and I am looking forward to the team performing very well in this competition. I'm not going to say this or that and put my neck down, but really I think the boys also sees this as a huge opportunity for them, even at the personal level, to also expose what they can do. You know, there will be a lot of people watching this competition.
Like and kind of a tryout for them.
Exactly. And this is the stage where where clubs internationally will come and really, because these are the next generation of senior players. Immediately they move from this, they are now senior players. So really this is the best place for clubs to be coming and be scouting. So I think the boys are also looking at this opportunity, and I can tell you the level of these boys, that what they have displayed so far has been very high. This is the same cream of team that won the Zone 2 against Senegal 3-0 in the Gambia just recently. And you know, a cream of them played in the Senegambia Cup, defeated the Senegalese club that come here. And Senegal is a very strong team. They have a very strong male team. And if these boys can do that, you can be sure that they can perform respectably at the level of the continent.
So generally, what's the future of volleyball in the Gambia?
I think the future is bright. If you look at what volleyball is going through, I mean, in beach volleyball, Gambia is African champions. And you know, they continue to perform very, very high in beach volleyball. Even in the Birmingham Games, they did very well. In indoor also, we are coming up. We are African bronze medalists in under 19. You know, and these are things that we were never thinking about. So there is growth going on in volleyball, and the future is really good. The future is very, very good. And there are so many talented players that we have. So I think it's all about now getting us at the level of the federation, packaging this very, very well, but also everybody trying to support the whole thing, especially the private sector. Now government is really supporting with what we have seen of recent. government is extremely supporting us, and we need this support to be complemented by the private sector because it's a national thing. It's owned by everybody. But I think the future for volleyball in this country is looking good. It's looking
Yes.
good.
Okay.
So
Before
yes,
he goes,
yeah.
I mean, I just want you to guide me through. I'm not very used to volleyball, although I mean, I've seen many people enjoying the game.
Yeah.
Take us through, how do you know the points in volleyball? I know football, when the ball goes into the net, it's a goal. So how do you know? Because I've just been seeing people hitting the ball like this.
This is a question I don't expect to be answered. Because,
well,
look,
I mean,
okay.
I don't know. I want to know.
Now, volleyball is a game where you have the net, and then the ball is tossed over the net, and each team is given 3 chances to play the ball, just 3 opportunities to touch the ball and take it to the other side. But what you do is try to make sure you land it on the floor of the other side. So the moment it touches the floor of the other team,
that's a point.
That's a point. Or when the other team commits a fault, like they are given a yellow card or a red card or so on, or they serve and it goes out, it's a point. So it's something that I think you need to come for some lectures to know this. But I don't think I can tell you everything about this point system.
It seems I'm more of a sports person than volleyball because I understand.
Absolutely.
I understand how volleyball
but
works.
I think you have to come on and watch. It's a fantastic game. It's even better than football.
I think I'll have to come and do that.
It is.
I mean, can you imagine I don't know the points in volleyball?
So you have to come on board.
It's the thing.
All right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jallo, for joining us on the program.
Thank
and
you.
we are wishing the team good luck in Tunisia,
Thank you.
hoping that they grab this opportunity,
Thank you.
and jealously guard the ball.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Looking forward.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
will just go for a short break, and immediately after that break, we'll be taking a look at the situation currently, Ibrahima, in Sierra Leone. You know, we will be taking a look at the situation in Sierra Leone, and we have a video here put together, and after that we'll be joined by journalist Samuel Koroma, journalist for AYV TV from Sierra Leone, to update us in relation to the happenings there. We'll be right back.
Save up to 50% energy with the new side-by-side Samsung refrigerator. Samsung air conditioners come with HD filter and antibacterial for your protection. Save time, energy, and effort by using our washing machines, loaded with innovative features that offer superior cleaning technology. Step into the future of television with our slick and slim Samsung Smart TV designs. Sizes range from 32 to 85 inches. Smart LED, Crystal UHD Ultra High Definition, and QLED Quantum Dark LED. Get new ways of interacting with your TV. Unparalleled vision, right from the comfort of your living room. Our products are backed with 1-year warranty. Visit us at QCell Building at Caraba Avenue or at Boost Turntable. Contact us on 333-3217 or email us at info@quantumnet.gm. As the fastest growing GSM company in the Gambia, QCell has the widest 4G plus coverage in the country, 3 times faster internet speed than our competitors. So switch now and dial *335# and enjoy what true 4G feels like. QCell, the Gambia's trusted network.
Light. From the beginning of time, light has been there.
It is integral to our survival and to our way of living.
We need light to work,
To build,
to grow things, and even to see our loved ones.
light makes things easier and better.
So QCell has changed the way you buy Q-Power to make it easier and more accessible.
You can now access the same service quickly and get your cash power tokens instantly with the new QCell Q-Power code.
To light up your world, simply dial *363#.
With a touch of your fingers,
With ease and convenience from the comfort of your home or office,
you can bring light into your world instantly with *363#.
Q-Power, lighting your world.
QCell Sunyabus.
We innovate, others follow.
right, welcome back from that break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning. So currently, officials in Sierra Leone have announced a nationwide curfew in relation to an anti-government protest, during which an unspecified number of people were killed, including 2 police officers. So we'll just take a look at this particular video, and when we come back, we'll be joined by Samuel Koroma, a journalist with AYV TV from Sierra Leone, to actually just update us in relation to the happenings there. We'll be right back.
Thousands taking to the streets of Freetown, protesting against the Sierra Leone government and the rising cost of living. What started as a peaceful demonstration soon turned deadly. This amateur footage appears to show a policeman firing a gun at an unseen crowd. Protesters were heard calling for the departure of President Julius Maada Bio. Many demonstrators demanding that the government address the cost of living, which has risen by more than 40% in just the last few months.
We do not have freedom of speech, and there's no respect for us. The women and our economy is down, 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 and the costs of living are very high. Because of it, we're suffering. We're really suffering.
More than half the population of around 8 million in Sierra Leone lives below the poverty line, according to the World Bank, and inflation has risen from 11% to 28% in just the last year.
Na shell company. Like say na war with the panasalo.
Let na war.
Life
President, go back home now. President, go back home. President, go back home. When? Now. President, go back home. When? Now.
This is the current situation right now in Lunge. This is the airport junction, just around the airport main gate, the Freetown International Airport main gate. Protesters overpowered police officers and military officers who were initially firing tear gas, dozens of tear gas fired here, but protesters coming from Tintafor and other areas overpowered the military officers and police officers. And now police officers and military officers have retreated. They are now observing. Initially they were trying to stop protesters from accessing the airport gate, but I think because of the crowd, the number of young people as you see, now they have retreated. They are now observing. Protesters are shouting and asking that Maada Bio must...
These unscrupulous individuals have embarked on a violent and unauthorized protest which has led to the loss of lives of innocent Sierra Leoneans, including security personnel. Consequently, government hereby declares a nationwide curfew with effect from today, Wednesday, 10th August 2022, commencing at 3 p.m.
All right, that is the video there, and we have Samuel Koroma on the line, a journalist with AYV TV. So, Samuel, if you can hear me, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Samuel, can you just update us about how did this start in the first place, and who are behind the protest? Can you confirm that to us?
As we speak, it's still uncertain as to who are behind this protest. The only thing that I'll confirm to you guys is the fact that, of course, it happened yesterday, even though there were signs of this unfortunate incident, and way back since last week, when there were allegations of some group of people who are about to stage a protest, in the whole of Sierra Leone. But again, on Monday, the signs were all right. taking into account the fact that in the early hours of Monday, most times it's a busy day because it's the first day, from the work week. But unfortunately, the streets were virtually empty. It's only around 2 p.m. Then we started seeing commercial vehicles flying different locations within the capital of Freetown. But of course, yesterday, in the early hours of yesterday, we saw thousands of peaceful protesters about to receive people who were about to demonstrate. They came out in their numbers, which unfortunately turned out to be a brutal affront between them and that of the Israeli police.
So we're aware that this started as a peaceful protest, and now we see footage circulating on social media that's showing, young people burning tires and throwing rocks at the military. Is that so?
Definitely. And I believe the footages that you've seen, those are, the actual realities of what occurred yesterday in Sierra Leone. When these protesters, they came out, I think from the audios, from the videos that we've also seen yesterday, and even some of us who are out there in the street, you hear them call on, of course, the president to resign his position, which became so very much, which made, I believe, key government officials in the ruling SLPP became so very much angry, taking into account the fact that the sitting government was democratically elected, by the people of Sierra Leone. So why calling on the government to resign when his tenure in office is still very much right? But again, these protesters came out agitating on key issues that have to do with their welfare.
Yes.
The cost of living, the rising cost of living, which has risen to about 40% in the past few months. And even unemployment is right among the youthful population in Sierra Leone. And even women who are out there said they were very more vociferous on the fact that their human rights were not respected more in terms of freedom of speech. And even themselves as women were not respected. Because mine is not the first time, even though, yes, we've seen a lot of protests of recent times, but it's not as brutal as what we saw yesterday. Because most of those protests that we've seen of recent times in Sierra Leone, you hardly see horrors or perhaps issues relating to what happened yesterday. For instance, killing of police officers and even of civilians. Here we've seen a lot of shootings of civilians across various parts of the country. But again, one that has to do with even destruction of property, state-owned property. I believe it's so very sad. It's a very sad moment in the Republic of Sierra Leone. And I believe that was more the reason why the vice president had to revoke state of public health, a state of emergency. Even though this is something that we speak, many civil rights activists and even lawyers are very much vociferous about. The fact is that some are arguing that the situation is it warrants a public emergency, but government must be very clear as to what the emergency is all about. Because before a state of public emergency is invoked, the Constitution must be suspended, and it must be made very clear as to when it should end. But I think nothing of such was mentioned by the Vice President upon the pronouncement of state of emergency yesterday. And as we speak, the recent release that we've seen, not from the government but from the Sierra Leone police, even though yes, they are a subset of government, it says that now for today, it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Even though many people are still worried or perhaps they're still confused as to the actuality of that release that we're talking about.
So are people respecting the curfew? Are people going by the rules as we speak?
Yeah, sure. Yesterday when the curfew was revoked by Vice President at 3 p.m., many people were now at their home. And thousands of protesters who took to the streets, they rushed back to their homes. But interestingly, what happened yesterday is that we had internet calls from right across the country. But again, one will understand, at least as a result of the fact that they had wanted to ensure that information is being controlled in a manner at which it will not look bad outside Sierra Leone. So the internet was put to a halt yesterday from across various parts. It's basically on and off. But thankfully, this morning, I think just around 9 this morning, the internet is on across Sierra Leone. So, but again, as you asked, the protesters, they expect the curfew that has been invoked by government.
So So you talked about, there's this woman that was being interviewed by France 24, and she's talking about how there's no freedom of speech in Sierra Leone, and you know, you are in the media, you can confirm that to us. You know, how is the situation, you know, when it comes to freedom of speech currently?
What I would say is this: for every right, there is a responsibility. Even though the Constitution makes it very clear that everyone has the right to freedom of speech, freedom of expression, so to speak. But again, there are responsibilities guiding those rights, because your right stops where the right of another man begins. So, yes, to some extent, one would say, you know, we see a situation where people say positive things that might not seem, you know, very welcoming to the government. We've seen them being harassed. Some have been arrested, you know, in country or so to speak. But again, as I would say, to every right, there are responsibilities. Perhaps the woman that was talking in that interview, she might have faced that situation. But nonetheless, us as journalists of recently seen a situation we are in, the public order act has been repealed in Sierra Leone. So that's the plus. Which essentially tells you that government is very much willing to allow people to vent out their views as and when necessary.
Okay. Gentlemen, do you want to comment?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, Samuel, thanks for joining us. So in terms of, you said that people are respecting the curfew. Now that the internet is back on, have you seen people posting stuff? Because the numbers given by the officials as to people killed and people injured seem to be countered by the images that we've seen. I've certainly seen at least 5 police officers that were killed, but we're still being told there were only 2. What's the situation as far as you're able to ascertain?
So this morning, I saw a notice that was put up by the police, and it's confirmed that 7 police officers were killed yesterday. Were brutally killed yesterday during the protest. I'll not say they were killed by civilians, even though yes, we've seen on most of the videos yesterday wherein police officers were assaulted by civilians. But as we speak, the number is 7. The information that I just received is 7. But for civilians, it is still unaccounted. The number is still not starting. But what I want to confirm to this medium is the fact that I received an information from also friends at one university, the famous university in country, that is called the Institute of Public Administration and Management, IPAM. I believe one of their students was killed yesterday in the protest, while heading for lectures. I think in the morning hours, she never knew this was the station. She came out for lectures, and unfortunately, she met and are dead through this unfortunate incident. But the numbers for particularly so civilians, the casualties, and even those who lost their lives, it's still uncertain. The actual number is still uncertain. But for police officers that will confirm, for the information that I received this morning, it said about 7 police officers lost their lives.
Samuel, and just finally from me, we saw the statement by the Vice President, Mohamed Julde Jallow. Has he made any further statements since that statement where he ended by announcing the curfew? Has he made any further statement?
Not really. Since yesterday, when the Vice President, made that announcement, invoking a state of emergency, he's yet to make any other statement relating to Spain. But the only thing I would say is that just yesterday, while the wrangling was going on between civilians and that of state personnel, police officers, because what seems very much pivotal is the fact that even during the riots yesterday, there were military personnel out there, armed military personnel. Whereas the military personnel were guiding the protest, but again, unfortunately, on the side of Sierra police, they had confrontations with the people, which evidentially tells you that I think at this particular moment, the police officers must try as far as possible to change the modus operandi, to learn from what been obtained within the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces. You see that marital affairs between the people and that of Al-Class, which was totally absent yesterday for the case of Sierra Leone police. I don't know if the people have lost trust in the police, even though yes, it is said that they are there to, of course, ensure to protect lives and property. I don't know if the confidence is currently dwindling between the people and that of the police.
Sure.
So these are all the realities. But actually, there is no further statement. Even though, as I said, what came out yesterday is a leaked press release, which depicts a MACP that was instituted by the ONS, directed to the Chief of Defense Staff, which came out yesterday, not too long after the protest.
Sure.
That was evoked also by the Vice President.
Okay, ONS, the Office of National Security. Is that right? ONS, the ONS, that's the Office of National Security.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure. Okay, and just also, I think you're speaking because you're in Freetown, but we also heard of protests in other parts of the country. And is it true to say that in the parts that in the south and the east, which are very much strongholds of the ruling party, there were no protests? I mean, the protests were mainly in opposition strongholds. Is that correct?
Yes, somewhat.
I mean, Bo, Kenema, those places didn't see any protests.
Kailamu was also speaking. Yeah, of course, those areas they are strongholds of the ruling SLPP, no cities.
Sure.
But again, I think the first place where we saw the invoking of a state of emergency was in McKinney, even before Freetown, even before the information came out very clear in Freetown. They invoked a state of emergency in McKinney very early yesterday. Our team that was there yesterday had to inform us of that one. And again, so yes, you might be right to some extent to say that yesterday we had no information of casualties from the south and the eastern region. I think virtually things are very much calm in those areas. But for the north and the western area, urban and rural, those are the places where we notice, adverse wranglings between the police and that of the civilians.
Thank you. Thanks, Samuel.
So I just have something quick to ask before we leave due to time. Because according to the World Bank, half of Sierra Leone's population of around 8 million live below the poverty line. So can you just talk to us, living there, being a journalist and seeing some developmental... Same, but we want to ascertain, because these are people chanting Bio must go, and then we want to know if you can point to us on tangible developments or a roadmap as to developments in Sierra Leone.
Yeah, definitely things are virtually unstable in Sierra Leone, mostly in terms of economic reliance, in terms of the manner in which people get income on a daily basis. I will confirm to you that the population in Sierra Leone mostly, relies on they rely so perhaps they get sustenance in a form of what I would say subsistence basis. Yeah, you earn and eat for days. You go out, spend for yourself, and come home and then feed your family, so to speak. The population largely is constitutes people who are subsistence earners. And I suppose that's more the reason why the public was the people were so very much angry yesterday when government had to institute a state of emergency, because people have to go out to fend for themselves. You see. But again, the report that was put out by the World Bank is so very true. The fact is that cost of living is so very high in Sierra Leone. The government of recent has come out very clear to tell the people that things are beyond their control. The fact is that the Russia-Ukraine invasion is where government most times takes the problem, and even with the outbreak of COVID-19 in Sierra Leone, that's where government takes the problem. Saying as a result of those issues, it's more the reason why the planned programs and activities that we planned, that we put aside, the policies that we made in 2018, before we came to power, these unforeseen circumstances, as one might say, the force majeure, might have triggered most of the roadmap that we set. But nonetheless, I would say government is they're doing their bit to ensure that they provide for the people.
All right. So Samuel,
in the area of agriculture, where government has spent huge finances, we've seen positive results, even though the impact is yet to be felt by the people. Because government of recent procured about 200 tractors to ensure that the country embarks on massive mechanized farming. But yet still the people are crying over the cost of a bag of rice. which has risen over 500,000 leon, which is half $100. Mind you, of recent Sierra Leone embarked on redenominating its currency just to ensure that it is at par with the foreign currency, which is largely dollars and even pounds sterling. But to no avail, the situation is still worse because as we speak, $100 is something around 1,400 leon, which in actual fact is 1.4 million leons, 1,400,000 in the old currency, and in the new currency it is interpreted as 1,400 leons. So it tells you how tough things are, and most people don't earn even up to 1,000 leons, on a monthly basis. The government. The government salary scheme. The government salary scheme is set at 600,000 leons, which is like 600 leons in a new currency. So, take for instance, you buy a bag of rice at 550 leons in a new currency when you earn around 600 leons on a monthly basis. How will you feed your family? So these are some of the realities on the ground. These are virtually the realities where I think.
Thank you so much, Samuel.
Are actually crying. People are actually calling for the president to go, or so to speak. But again, as I said earlier on, the sitting government was democratically elected, and so if he's to be booted out of the process, it must be done through the ballot box, and that's what so many people have been calling on the public, that you guys must be patient because the opportunities are all around you. 2023 will go into the pool. If you're very vociferous, if you're very angry about the system, go to the ballot box and follow the due process, follow the right to protest.
All right. Thank you so much, Samuel Koroma, journalist from AYV TV Sierra Leone. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate that update. 6 hours ago, President Madabio tweeted, and I quote, "As a government, we have the responsibility to protect every citizen of Sierra Leone. What happened today was unfortunate and will be fully investigated. I urge all Sierra Leoneans to be calm."
In the era of technology, he could have sent a video instead, but he tweeted. A lot of what has happened is due to bad communication on the part of the government. If people want to protest, the police should not have said you can't have a protest. They're protesting about economic woes. Let them protest, and don't tear gas people. What you have here is people turning on the police, not on the army. Maybe because the army are heavily armed. That could be one of the things. But what we find ourselves in is quite a shocking statistic. 7 police dead, possibly as many as 14 or 15 civilians, based on pictures that people have been posting. And that's quite shocking. And as Samuel rightly says there, in Africa we don't seem to know how to do democracy. The polls are next year. Wait and vote him out if you think you can, and if you think but for most of its time, apart from when we've had the military, Sierra Leone has only been ruled by 2 parties: the party of the current president, SLPP, and the opposition, All People's Congress, the APC, and they both made a terrible job of governing in Sierra Leone. I don't even know why people still vote for them. They've both been rubbish. They've done nothing that you can point to, and so on. And what's ironic about what's happening with this is that the day before this protest, one of the most, we talked about the Public Order Act, which they have here in the Gambia, which journalists have been screaming for its repeal. It hasn't been repealed. It's been repealed in Sierra Leone. And just the day before this, they passed the Land Tenure Act. For all of its life, somebody who is a Freetonian has not been able to buy land anywhere else in Sierra Leone other than in Freetown. But somebody from outside of Freetown can buy land in Freetown. That has been repealed. Somebody who is a Freetonian can buy land anywhere now in Sierra Leone. People have been screaming for this for the last 7 decades. And so imagine the day after this passed, a momentous bill passed, we then had this protest, which has led to these deaths. Really, really tragic. And some of the scenes, they are shocking. We would never dare show them on TV. They are truly horrific. And yes, you want to protest about the government, this is not the way to do it.
It's unfortunate. I mean, elections are just next year, 2023. And, a hungry man, you cannot tell him to wait until after elections or during elections to choose.
Yeah, but the problem is
it is
no, you know what?
It is unfortunate.
No,
I mean it happens this way.
I understand, but you know, the hunger affects both people who support the ruling party and people who support the opposition. So why are people in the ruling party not out on the streets voting with their feet and voting with bricks instead of waiting to put their... Because they know that they're all suffering.
Yeah.
It's not just people in the opposition who are suffering. You know, so I heard somebody trying to defend it yesterday, and I'm like, no, everybody's suffering, including those who would normally vote for the ruling party. So yes, I'm sorry, but you do have to wait.
Yeah, and my concern is that you're talking about a hungry man, an individual who's hungry, but don't you know these controversies can even make things worse at the end of the day. This is a country that has been through something like war before.
10-year war.
You see that?
Well, you know,
so now is the opportunity to say, never again.
Yes,
we are not going to go back to this, and the
show,
only way we can do that is through the ballot box.
Yeah. When I saw the videos yesterday, I was like, my mind clicked back to the war that happened.
But
in
you
Sierra
said something that was that surprised me today.
I was like, I mean, I hope this is not going to turn out that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you said something up in the office. You said, I didn't know Sierra Leoneans could be this brutal.
Yes, to be this brutal.
And I said, human beings can be this brutal. You know. We've seen it in Rwanda, we've seen it in Sierra Leone, we've seen it in Liberia.
Yeah.
You know, Sierra Leone, you talked about never again.
Yeah.
When we had our Truth and Reconciliation Commission, that was how they ended it, by saying never again. But it seems as if people have already forgotten.
Exactly.
It's not that long ago.
Yeah.
You know, 2002 is when it ended. You know, that's 20 years ago. You know, are we going to go back to that?
Well, I think the communication too, you've mentioned it, when it comes to the government communication to the general public, I think it's also very poor.
It's been poor. It's been poor. You know,
Yeah.
and you have all these means by which you can communicate with people, you can send messages with people. And to be honest, the president could have said, you know what, I understand that next week people are going to protest about my government and so on. You know, these are the reasons why I don't think you should, but it's your democratic right to protest.
You can go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, denying people permits also can cause a lot of problems, because some people, if you deny them, they will protest anyway.
Well, in fact, and that's exactly what happened. They were denied a permit, and they took to the streets, and look where we ended up.
Yeah, I think denying them a permit
unfortunate.
was the was the decision that they made.
And then you had lawyers going on yesterday saying, oh, you know, he didn't suspend the Constitution, and he's declared a state of emergency, or he's declared a curfew. You know what? That's all rubbish. People have died, and you're bitching about he didn't suspend the Constitution. Are you serious? Is that the most important thing that's happened right now? People have died, and you're telling, oh, he didn't suspend the Constitution before he invoked a curfew. Come on, you know, get a life, people. You know, people have died, and we don't even know the numbers yet. And you're talking about he should have first of all suspended the Constitution before he invoked a curfew. You know, and people have like idiotic priorities, really.
They should have avoided. I mean, people lost
One
their
thing
life.
I'm tired about as a person is leaders continuing to give us the COVID-19 excuse. I'm not saying it did not affect things. It did. It just affected every country. Things stopped for a while. Production stopped. The value chain is affected. All of that. But I just feel like there are instances where it just doesn't sink in for me.
I would challenge you there. I don't think it's an excuse. A country like Sierra Leone, like Cape Verde, like the Gambia, we rely on tourism.
True.
COVID-19 virtually destroyed the tourism industry in
I'm
those
talking about
three
roadmaps here.
Look, you know, and then people haven't had time to recover yet. And then because of our dependence on outside forces for fuel, for grain and so on, it's not an excuse. It really is not an excuse.
I'm not saying it's not, but it's far too long. You know, now when I ask somebody, I want you to tell me, hey, COVID-19 affected us this way, but this is our post-recovery mechanism.
Well,
that's what I'm looking forward to.
All of them had that, and then the Ukraine-Russia conflict happened. You know, you can plan.
We need to buckle up, you know.
Buckle up by doing what? Invading Russia and Ukraine
I'm not saying
to
invading
stop
Russia,
it?
but
No.
buckle up as a continent, you know. Put
that's
things
true.
in place.
You know,
We're
because
tired
these
of the
things,
excuses.
that I would agree with you, because what this has shown is that Africa needs to wake up.
We need to.
As the quote, which I don't think he actually said it, but it was attributed to Kagame, saying that how can a continent of 2 billion people be depending on a country of 40
Russia,
million
Ukraine?
people? Russia, Ukraine. You know, and they are right. We should not have been depending on anything. When you think we have the likes of Nigeria, we have Senegal with oil, we have Angola with oil, we have all these African countries with oil, and you're telling me fuel gone up because of Russia-Ukraine war?
Well, it's crazy. I don't know the way Africa thinks, but I mean, it's very poor. I mean, people brag a lot about Africa having all these natural resources. Africa can take care of itself.
Where are
but
we benefiting
Africans
from
are
it?
still sleeping.
We're sleeping. We're sleeping. And so you end up with an unfortunate situation like this one where, you know, people are protesting about high cost of living.
Right.
They're protesting about the high unemployment rate. The fuel.
Lack of freedom of expression.
That's not true. That is untrue. There are like several newspapers, nobody's ever silenced them. I mean, that woman, if I'd been there, I would have challenged her because that is patent nonsense. There is freedom of expression there. And as the journalist rightly said, there's nothing she could point to that would justify what she said about lack of freedom. That is patently untrue. There are opposition TV stations, there are opposition radio stations. Nobody's ever shut them down. There are opposition newspapers, nobody's ever shut them down. That is patent rubbish. I'm sorry. You know, so, you know, yes, everybody has a right to speak, but we also have a right to challenge nonsense when we hear it.
Yeah.
And
So we have another tweet here by a Sierra Leonean who's saying, President Madabio, you are insensitive and not a serious president. All that you know is corruption, killing, as well as human rights abuses and misuse of power. You know, the suffering populace notified you weeks ago about a peaceful protest nationwide, demonstration demanding better living conditions and liberty.
Yeah, that's one person's opinion in a population of 8 million, and people will have their opinions. But also yesterday, I don't think we can fail to mention that there were photographs going around showing protesters with guns. One of them with
burning tires.
One of them with an AK-47.
Yeah, that's scary too.
What kind of protester is that?
Yeah.
We don't say, and I've said it, people have a right to protest, of course, if they disagree with the government. People have a right to say, you know, they think this is corrupt or whatever. Bring the evidence, and we have an independent anti-corruption commission. Take the evidence to him. But people want him to act on rumors and innuendos rather than facts.
Yeah.
If you want to prosecute a president, and you need facts. If you want to prosecute a minister or anybody, you need facts. If you want to prosecute anybody, you need facts, not just rumors. And people want the rumors to be what is used to prosecute the president. And so you will have people saying corruption,
what the situation is showing me, Mr. Ade? It's actually showing me how reforms really takes time, you know?
And people are impatient.
Reforms takes time. 10 years of war in Sierra Leone, and still you can see that the police do not even have the proper structures in place for crowd control. It's not there. And these are reforms that obviously were put on paper through the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, just as in the Gambia. You know, so this shows how much really is either the reforms is slow or really the political will is not there.
Well, if you look at Sierra Leone itself, I mean, you can see still they're feeling the effect of the war. I mean, it's still affecting the way the country is governed, the way the people are living. It used to be a very good country to live. It used to be
good. It used to be peaceful.
A very peaceful.
The war came as a shock to everybody.
A very peaceful country. So I think all these protests and all this hard way of living conditions is still the effects of the past war, Mr. Ade.
There's an element of truth in that, because the war itself came because the country had become dysfunctional. Immediately after independence, Sierra Leone, you could say for the first 5-7 years maybe after independence, it was a meritocracy where people got to the top based on their ability, not because they were related to the president, prime minister or a minister. That changed. It started to change under the second prime minister, Albert Magai, really appointed lots of his friends as ministers. He himself should not have been, a guy called John Carifa Smart should have been the second prime minister when Sir Milton Magai died. And for me, that's where the whole thing started going wrong. He brought a much more confrontational style of politics, and infamously became the first sitting African post-independence leader to lose an election in 1967. The APC won the election. but before they could be sworn in, we had our first coup d'etat. And so it started to go downhill after that. And I don't think the country's ever recovered from that, because it still gets to a stage where I could speak to students who had fled Sierra Leone during the war and gone to London, and they were telling me quite casually that they would bribe their lecturers to get good grades.
Look at that.
And they thought that was the thing to do. They didn't think there was anything unusual about it.
No.
I mean, but the thing that really shocked me was when they claimed that one of their fellow students, a girl, had been failed because she refused to have sex with the lecturer, and they called her stupid. And I said, what? And you know, I thought, you know, I said, you know, I'm going to sound like some 100-year-old person. I said, but in my day as a student, we would have applauded her. And yet you guys are referring to her as being stupid.
Well, things have changed.
And that tells
The way
you
they change.
about how rotten the system was throughout almost every sector of the country. And so people now get appointed based on who they know rather than what they can do, rather their ability.
Current
and so on.
happenings.
Yeah. You know, some guy has just published a video this morning, a guy called Dr. Idris Lahai, where he's named about 15 people who have got the term doctor after their names in Sierra Leone, in very high positions, including the Clerk of Parliament, and they're fake degrees. And he's published all their names and he's published the evidence. You know, so people don't even get to the top anymore by earning it, you know? So
I think countries should make good use of vettings. You know, part of transitional justice is, you know, going through vettings to just kind of remove the people with fake degrees and all of that, but which is also another process again, you know.
But you know, do the process.
Do
it's
the
another
process,
process,
so
but
vetting.
at the end of the process, you get
It's
quality
important.
people.
Yeah,
and when you don't, people resent it.
As part of reforms, you know, presidents should be, you know, doing that, doing the proper vetting to get the right people in place, you know, and all of that.
Well, rules are set. I mean, if you don't follow the rules, I mean, maybe you are the top, and you do not follow the rules. Even if you do whatever you do, still it's going to be the same thing.
Well, people will look at you and say, well, you're not following the rules, why should I?
Yeah, that's
so
the
you
thing.
have to set the example, of
and
course.
it goes.
Well, it's unfortunate, Mr. Ade. I'm seeing a country like Sierra Leone, I mean, going through such an incident.
I look at those pictures and I know every one of those streets in Freetown. I could name every single street. I could walk some of those streets blindfolded. I know them so well.
Well, and you know, Sierra Leone and Gambia, it's like something, it's connecting these two countries. I mean,
like it is there. There's no something. There's a connection.
When such a thing happens in Sierra Leone, I mean, Gambians feel this like, I mean, it's happening in the Gambia.
Gambians feel it, and I've heard from my Gambian friends, they feel the sorrow, they feel the pain. I mean, for me, yesterday, I was almost in tears when I saw some of the images. They were horrific. They were horrific. And people, we have a lot of Sierra Leoneans living here in the Gambia, and people were contacting me, oh, have you seen, have you heard, and so on. You know, I was on a Zoom meeting yesterday, which was 3 hours long. It was meant to be for a charity. We run an orphanage in Sierra Leone, and yet the first hour, all we spoke about was this. You know, and we were all very, very upset, you know, so. Yeah.
So the thing is, countries, when we transition or we are transitioning, let's stick to our never again campaigns. For me,
let's mean it.
Let's mean it when we say never again. For me, whatever we do around transitional justice, the never again is what it is for me, because it's just what is going to prevent us from going through that again and going through a whole nother reforms and transition to check on institutions and all of that. Let's mean it.
But our leaders
and that's
also
what I told Bale this morning.
Leaders have a role to play to help us maintain the never again.
But individuals also have a role to play.
Absolutely.
Mr. Ade, you said it quite well.
Absolutely.
As a protester, peaceful protester, why should you burn a tire? Why should you throw rocks at the military or carry a gun?
Yes,
that is
definitely.
unacceptable.
We all have responsibilities to take care.
Yes, it's us and our leaders at the same time.
Absolutely.
So, Mr. Ade, we're sending you some love and light, you know.
I appreciate it, but this is it's sad. I mean, I don't usually get emotional, and I've even been surprised at how emotional and upset I got over this. Even speaking about it now, I'm almost about to cry.
So,
I mean,
okay, so
it should
sorry
not.
about that. Yeah.
Shouldn't happen.
Yeah, shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen. Do you need to give him a tap in the back or something?
Yeah, it's all right, Mr. Ade.
It's all right. It's all right. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, but it's you know, we need better. This country deserves better.
Yeah, deserves better. Deserves better. So never again, Gambia. We are seeing what's happening there. It is our opportunity.
That's what I told Balde this
This
morning.
is our time to safeguard our Never Again campaign even further.
I told Balde the very thing this morning. I said, we say never again after the TRRC. We have to mean it by looking at Sierra Leone and saying, see what's happening
Jealously
there.
guarded.
It should not happen here.
Yeah,
it shouldn't.
It shouldn't. So, gentlemen, that is all we have time for. So, viewers, till we come your way on Monday, you know, with a whole another exciting week. Looking forward to it. Have a good rest and, you know, drink some coffee, go to the beach, relax. It's weekend. What do you think, guys?
I'll go to the beach if it doesn't rain.
You need to go to the beach, Mr. Ade, and I don't want to see you editing any story on Sunday. Please.
Well, Mr. Ade, you need
no editing.
Ade needs to relax, man.
I do.
So you, buguma lagi sa boutique bi.
No, boutique bi foog ma
sa boutique bi laa bëgg nga tëj nga dem toog nga em.
Dama noppalu.
Waaw, man tamit defuma dara dama relax, you know, fel felaale. Yooyu lay def. Bye.